Warning. Some viewers may find the following content controversial and potentially offensive. Viewers' discretion is advised. Ha! Like that I care. I know I'll be respectful and decent about it, but hey, cool. Get ready to learn something useful. So I'm MrRAYtheteacher, and there's my social media. I'm using most of them except one of them. Maybe I'll use that one later. You should know which one it is. Feel free to subscribe. It would be much appreciated. So citing culture. Today it's going to be the F word. It's going to be fun. So identity is the topic, and the concept will be about the commodification of culture. So this is a quote adapted from C. Wright Mills, Making the Strange Mundane and the Mundane Strange. That's what we're all about here. Again, feel free to please check out my social media. Much appreciated, as it goes a long way to helping me out. Help you out for a brighter future. So let's get into it. The commodification of culture is turning culture into an aspect. So it's the selling of aspects of your culture. You could make artifacts to sell to those who come to your area. And it could also do with looking at aspects of culture you can sell to make a profit from. I said the P word, profit. So trigger alert for anyone that's into that. And for example, if you go to Paris, you go there to soak up the chic French culture. You go to Cambodia, Cambodia. Visiting the temples and taking part in huge festivals is a way in which the culture has been turned into a commodity. So that's me, and for you buddies who went to Songkran, excuse my pronunciation, is part of the Khmer culture. Also went to the Angkor Wat there, and yeah, with Songkran, the water festival. So every new year in the Thai calendar, the Khmer calendar, big water fight signifies the washing away of things, start clean, start a new year. You want to add more details or correct me, feel free to at the bottom, but yeah, pretty much wash away for the new year. And yep, there we go. So even cultural events like the color run can be argued as the commodification of culture. So the color run has its roots in traditional Indian culture. So there you go. Cultural diffusion. Cultural diffusion has occurred. So in the West, we have people doing a similar thing, more palatable and appropriate. So your average person probably wouldn't know what Holi is. So here's a hint. It's what the color run is based off. And that's a spring festival that comes from India and is celebrated by Hindus. So now you might get some left-wing SJW peaceably saying this is all doom and gloom, and this is the systematic abuse and profiteering the West has done over less developed cultures. That's an argument you can have on your own, and it's not entirely wrong, but let's look at it a bit more positively. As I take it, the commodification of culture helps facilitate globalization, provides economic opportunities for those in need, and makes for a richer experience, as this world is a fascinating place with many things waiting for you. So this includes being able to respectfully, and I stress that, respectfully share the experience many different cultures have all around the world. If the sharing is equitable and fair, that's the condition, then there are no issues. So you can get some of the SJWs claiming that it's not fair. And you know what? Not good. But if it's fair, then why not? So beware of the SJW, a slightly different tangent. Blackface for me, growing up, this was around. Now it's a cardinal sin. It's generally for good reason. So beware of the SJW. They look like these guys here. Not meaning to play too much on stereotypes. So SJW stands for Social Justice Warrior. And while many are good intentioned, some are just taking things a little too far. And that's got to do with the commodification of culture, one of their trigger points. Posing that they are woke, yet their eyes are closed to the reality of many things. So cashing in on cultures, let's look at the Simpsons headlines, where Apu copped criticism from an Indian comedian for perpetuating stereotypes. So the quote from Lisa Simpson nails it. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. So as a comedian too, look, I'm funny. Look at my teaching career. That's a joke. Punchline fail. Anyway, I believe that comedy should be left alone. It's the last bastion of freedom. But then what about halfies? What about me then? So like Bob, I think he's Caucasian. Maybe he's just me. Asian with dyed blonde hair. But hey, if someone's getting offended at that. So yeah, the Simpsons still doesn't understand the problem with Apu, one of the headlines that was around up on the net. So now do note that although Apu is Indian, there are many different ethnic races in India. The Indians down south near Goa are different, or can be different, to those north of India and the Middle East, who are fairer complexion. So those that are towards the Middle East, due to the Indians that have mixed with those of Arabic descent due to cultural contact. So I could know I've been throughout India. So since Apu is dark, are these ethnically mixed Indians barred from going for the role of Apu? Still live in the subcontinent, they're just not the same race. And there are many languages and many different cultures within India. Love the place. Really, really intense place. Culture, food, and cash. What about food? Is it offensive if a Korean person cooks sushi, a Japanese food? Now remember, Japan is an island. Korea is a peninsula. They're quite close to each other. They're all Asian. So many Japanese people will refrain from eating sushi in a place if the establishment is known to be run by a Korean. This is from Japan, Shinjuku in Kabukicho. Really good sushi. Loved it. My recommendation, Engawa. Aburi Engawa. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, grilled Engawa melts in your mouth. Anyway, not arguing that this is good or bad, right or wrong. And yes, if you're thinking, that's racist, it is. Note that both are Asian. So point taken though. But, and I counter this, and this would make a lot of Japanese people, and has made a few of my friends, especially those in Japan, think about it. So personally, I would prefer my sushi from a Korean who's, say, trained in Japan or has a passion for sushi, rather than a Japanese person who doesn't really care and is just on a working holiday visa making sushi to help fund their holiday. Yeah, so identity, reality, the construction of who are you? To quote that guy from The Lion King. So while we're on the food topic and cultural identity topic, how long is good enough for a country to claim their food as theirs? So here's an example. Get a Malaysian and Indian to sort this one out. Where does sambal come from? Malaysia or Indonesia? I had this in Singapore, right near the Marina Bay Sands, nearby the garden that's there. So, countries are a social construct where we draw the borders, political construct. What about Japanese food such as tempura, which comes from the Portuguese originally? Japanese curry, which is brought over from the British sailors who had been to India. Or ramen, so that's brought over from mainland China. And tantan men, so that's a specific type. And now virtue signaling. Beware of it. So there are many poser, woke SJWs and still love to partake in this thing. So if Karen was a right-wing person, an SJW would be what the left wing gave us, the equivalent. TLDR, this is when somebody or a company poses that they care for a social cause, but they're doing it for the likes, the cred, maybe even the cash. They are saying politically correct things for the money and the cred, rather than for any genuine conviction to the cause. And back to cashing in on culture, in many of those SJWs complaining, they are the ones not being offended. Seems odd, doesn't it? Why, what nice people. Or, don't they have a lot of free time? So many SJWs spread hate and intolerance using the guise of social justice, listening only to those who agree in their echo chamber. That is, listening to those who say what they want to hear, and shutting down anyone who believes anything else. Can't say that. That's politically incorrect. So generally these SJWs from the radical left claim to preach tolerance, but in reality, the thing they hate, as many don't seem to be tolerant of your ideals, they don't fit within their agenda. So remember, in reality, they become the thing they hate, because basically, they don't want to tolerate it or have a word of it if you don't agree to what they agree, and if you don't subscribe to their dogma and doctrine. You're cancelled. Next slide. So where does it end with them? So although they have assumed good intentions, presumably gentrifying language and society. So gentrifying. South Park really nailed it, making something crappy not so crappy, or even desirable and good. What about any white representation in Asian media? Sure, they're not kicking up a fuss there. What about how many black people are still generally used as the poking stick in Asian media? I don't even think they watch it or know of any of this, except for the random thing that an expat puts up on Twitter. What about a white person cooking Chinese food? Is that racist? Oh, but if a white person voices a poo on The Simpsons, it's gonna get cancelled if you don't get rid of Hank Azaria. My goodness. What is right and who will draw the lines? Who will be the arbiter of what is just and correct? Who gives those people the right to be the gatekeeper? So as with many of my society and culture lectures, you're left with more questions than answers. Oh, there you go. There's a white guy. When I was in Beijing and before I went to North Korea, saw him and he spoke Mandarin, and yeah, he's white and cool. It's just your skin color. Moving on. But being what you're not, what about white people who are wiggers? So that is a mixture of the term, and excuse me and apologies, don't mean to be offensive. So white person and nigger, take the W from white, the igger from nigger, put it together, wigger. Does that make Eminem the worst person? But so many people of color look up to him. He was even in the BET Awards. He's won so many awards. What if we take the white person out of the equation? And where does that leave K-pop idols who are a minority themselves? They're Asian. Yet they're capitalizing on R&B and hip hop. Just a random thing too. What about this video? And it's he's making fun of my Asian roots? Huh. I'm offended. You're canceled, Eminem. Pfft, just kidding. Love the guy. And I love that song, Without Me. Parental guidance is recommended. Also, rock music was originally started by like the black people. So it's weird now because you really rarely see any black. I love rock, but I'd be dying to find any rock bands or heavy metal bands that are like really popular that are of African American descent. And that Korn video, Twisted Transistor with Snoop Dogg on it, he's not really in Korn, and that's what makes it funny. So it's not blackface though. So going back to Eminem or the K-pop like BTS and Big Bang, Shirin Yushidai, SNSD, Girls' Generation, and Kara, and Blackpink. It's not blackface, but it could be argued as the audio version of blackface. Nobody's complaining, right? Like, they're trending, they're up in those ranking things. So, here's another one. Dear and close to me, Super Mario. So that's you. So, Japanese company, Nintendo, Italian character, Super Mario, non-Italian voice actor. Should it be voiced by an Italian? What about an American Italian? Because is he from America? But then it's a fictional universe, though I'm sure that the latest game that's based off New York City. What about mixed Italian due to the rich and long history of Italy? And ethnic Germans of northern Italy. So looking at Mario, he has a mustache, so that's more like closer to the Italians down the Mediterranean Sea. But blue eyes, Nordic traits, so maybe like, long history, lots of cultures. So you can see it's getting pretty silly, isn't it? Or is it? Hey, that's not right. There's a non-Italian that's voicing Super Mario. I'm triggered. You're canceled too, Mario. So it's all about respect and decency. So here's a good way to tell if it's racist or if you should be offended. Too often people are labeled racist. This creates a fear as everyone has to walk on eggshells to appease the SJWs, the radical left, and those who claim to be woke, especially supporters of the do-nothing Democrats. Was there any malice behind it? If yes, that's not good. Was there any good intentions behind it? If yes, then communicate it. This is just to stop miscommunication between what's racist and what's not. And what makes you think that way? Don't just judge. Get the bigger picture. Why is it wrong? It's always good to back yourself up and justify. And what alternatives are there which are reasonable and appropriate? being offensive. So if you're the type to be offended easily, I'm offended, you're offended. So there. You have the right to be offended. So here's a quote from Peter Griffin from Family Guy. So, well, sir, while I may not agree with what you say, I'll defend to the death your right to say it. It's not an invitation to allow for hate speech. We just need to moderate ourselves as a society and not go too far in either. The most important thing, bring back the positive vibes. The world is an amazing place. It's not about pushing agendas or trying to be top dog for cred. It's about respect. If someone gets offended at your message and you mean no malice, no harm, no offense, to the speaker, explain yourself. To the listener, listen carefully. And to both of them, communicate effectively. Don't be a rude person or a snowflake. Everyone, just be chilling. So what did you learn today? So if that's what someone asks you, please don't waste the taxpayer dollar. If you go to public school, learn about the commodification of culture and how SJWs are a mixed bag. So it's when culture, commodification of culture, where aspects of it or the culture itself are turned into assets which can be sold for a profit. Negatives are some people say that this can leave less for developed societies open for abuse, less developed societies open for abuse, leaving them there. But on the positive side, it allows for less developed societies to develop and share their cultural knowledge with the rest of the world. Share, be respectful, communicate clearly, and be nice. Don't cancel like a certain Ellen DeGeneres. Anyway, don't be a woke SJW. Be a nice, friendly, happy person. Now, just for any clarification, if you're being called an SJW, it means you've gone too far. If you're being called a respectful person, that means you haven't gone SJW. This is a negative term when you're called that. So in moderation, you wouldn't really be called an SJW. Again, the left wing is SJW, the right wings are Karens. Don't think you'd want to be any of them, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe, check out my other videos, spread the word, tell your classmates, friends, colleagues if this helped you out. Remember, studying for a bright future. Check out my Patreon, feel free to support me there if this video helped you out, and watching the ads if this video is monetized helps too. Many thanks. Alright, catch you on the flip side. It's been super long. Just a quick shout out to Ms. Byron and Mr. P, my society and culture teachers. They helped me out a lot, and they actually wrote the course if you're studying society and culture. P. Sostino and Grant McCall. So my lecturers and teachers. So there, quality education for you, bright future. Catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye. Oh, and last shout out to Miss Morimoto and Maili for the photos when I was going overseas helping me out. All right, now I'll let you go. Bye.